Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I have another PCM test, this time working on a 2010 Ford Ranger with a 2.3 liter engine. This is actually from a shop here in Virginia. I'm trying to catch up with everything. It's been like a couple of days or so that they left the computer here. This is from ABS Auto in Virginia. So let me see. I have the last digits on the on the bin is PA 16137. You're going to see that in a second in there. And I have the list of fault codes that they have is manifold, absolute pressure, barometric pressure, circuit low. It said that it's reading only 1 volt. Not sure if it's the fiber reference or what they were checking in here. P0122 throttle pedal position sensor, circuit A low, 0 volts. No, that's actually the next one, P0452 evap system pressure sensor, circuit low, and it says it was reading 0 volts. And you're going to see all the notes in here. So let me just show you that. I think is the best. Should I deselect the intro? Because sometimes wants to play by itself in here. And let me get you over to the folder. Slide out of my way a little bit. Yeah, you guys are able to see very well in there. This is the computer connected. A little bright in there for the moment on the camera. Let's see if he adjusts. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Let me turn that off. It's not like that's the one in the reflection, and you can see the cameras adjust very quickly to the light. All right, so let's go over here. So that is the computer. Since I don't have the car, I have to figure out which one is connector E, B, and T. They're all C175, E for engine, B for battery, and T for transmission. So in E in the engine, we're going to have all the sensors, and the B is powers and grounds and communication, and then the T is most of the signals the transmission needs. As you see, they got a full, report in here. This is the back numbers on this computer. I always keep a record of everything that I'm checking. And then the fault codes. So this is exactly what I was reading in there. And then the P0454 evap system pressure, A circuit intermittent, P0642 sensor range, voltage A circuit low. All right, so manifold and throttle position sensors are in the same diagram. Or in the same connector. Let me show you that. I have gathered the diagrams in here. So let me go in order. This one that we see first is the grounds. So let me get something you guys can see because the mouse disappears on here. So I'm going to use this as a mouse so you can see me. Right here at the bottom, we got all the computer grounds that are in connector C175B. And I'm using only one for my test in here because they're all shared inside 47, 48, 49, and 50, and then a case ground on pin 10. The rest, we got a knock sensor here, crankshaft position sensor, and you can see that that one is in connector C175E. But I don't really need any of those, at least not for the test that I'm doing. The next one is the powers in a different diagram number. We got the powers in here, again in connector C175B. Pins 35 and 34, they're shared inside the computer, so I just connected one wire in there. That's like an ignition. And then the keep alive power, which is pin 45. And then we have signal return here, which is, a ground for the sensor. This is the power steering. This is the bend valve. And this is the clutch position sensor, which we don't really need much for here. The next one, I have the communications. Let me get one of those. So we have the FEPS is for programming. For communication, I'm using, and the vehicle uses the high-speed CAN, negative and positive, and pins 11 and 23 in connector 175B. So again, on the connector on the center. Then the next one that I have here is for the sensor ground, which I'm going to show you too here. So I have a wire on pin 58, signal return. So all those grounds are shared for almost all the sensors. We can see here that goes over to the manifold air sensor, We have in here, what else? O2 sensors are using the same. If we go over to the 4, which I'm going to show you next, and we follow is H, K, and L, those are also grounds, right? So they're all connected, interconnected in there. But I have a wire connected there to a meter, which I'm going to show you in a second. So that is the sensor ground. So the next diagram that I have, oh, and I forgot to tell you, that is in connector C175E, pin 58. All right, the fiber reference. So the next one is for the fiber reference. I found all this, gathered all this data for myself and for you. So again, on connector C175E, we got the fiber reference on pin 57. You see it says right here, BREF. That is the fiber reference for the manifold air pressure, which is one of his faults, the throttle position sensor, and look like that's it. Throttle and manifold pressure. Let's see what else we have in here. Then the H, K, and L are the grounds that I was telling you that are also grounds for the manifold air pressure, for the throttle position, and for the cylinder temperature, cylinder head temperature sensor. Let me see, because he says something in there about evap pressure. So the fuel tank pressure, let me see if I have it on the diagrams, which I know I have it. Fuel tank. Usually, yeah, right here, FTP. All right, let's see the fuel tank pressure sensor, which is right here on the top. Let me get one of those boxes so I can use it as a mouse. Come on. All right, so this is in connector C175B. We got the fuel tank pressure signal, fuel temp reference. So it's a different reference. And it looks like it's in page 5, so we have the voltage reference for that sensor, and the ground is in a different diagram. So let me get the number 5. Oh, that's actually in the powers and grounds. So we should have that one already open. So powers and grounds, this is the 5th. So, oh, this is the signal return that we were seeing right here. So it's on pin 41 and connector B. So I have to check that one too as well, to make sure that we have this, the fuel tank pressure reference, as I mentioned in here. This should be a fiber reference, right? That's a pressure sensor. So we have the signal, and we have the voltage reference. All right, so we have everything as far as the diagrams that we need to do the test. I have right now the SUS. Oh, sorry, I played something else. Yeah, it's not a problem. Okay, we got a meter connected to, I am now connected to pin 57 and 58, which are the reference, the fiber reference, and the sensor ground for the manifold air pressure and for the throttle position sensor. And that is reading good. So I have the scanner right now also there connected to the vehicle. That is the big number, and this is more for the customer than for you, because it's not really important, but they will know that this is their computer. So I'm going to enter the engine, because I also have now connected here. Let me show you that. I'm using in here my auto simulator, or my simulator, sorry, and I'm going to use a fiber reference for the throttle position sensor, to which I'm connected to it. And I forgot to tell you about that one, the throttle position. Let me see if I found it in here. Let me see what is the throttle position, because I know I have a mark. It should be in, in the same one with the fiber reference. So that should be this one. No, this is this one. Okay, so the fiber reference, sorry, not the fiber reference, the signal for the throttle position sensor, right? So we have a fiber reference, which is shared to the map and to the throttle, then the ground, which is also shared. And then we have the signal for the throttle position sensors on pin 61 on connector E, which I am connected. I have a wire right now, this green wire here. This one right here is connected to that, and I'm going to inject voltage up to 5 volts to see what the computer reads. So I'm going to go into data display. Let me get that closer to me. Very bright, even though I have no light in here. engine management, full data, what the sensor relays. Let's go into engine management data. I don't know what manufacturer changes always the names on the submenus. I'm going to do a custom selection because I don't really need much than the TPS. I probably will select if I have the pit for the manifold air pressure to see what it's reading with nothing connected. Let me see what I got here. Let's deselect all. I need my glasses. Let me find it. Total position voltage. Total position. Let me see if I have the map. Manifold pressure voltage and manifold pressure inches of mercury. All right, let's put them in the list. And let me get down into my screen so I can see what you guys are seeing in a bigger screen myself too. All right, so we got a manifold pressure of 36.3, which is okay because nothing is connected. The throttle position is reading now 1.6, and that is exactly what I'm supplying in here. So I'm going to change that voltage. And I want you to see, I'm going to open the throttle pit because I can now move that in a graph. And I want you to see how I'm changing that. So this is showing me that the problem is not in the computer. So I have fiber reference and I got sensor ground, and the signal going from the sensor to the computer is working perfect. And this is something you can do in the vehicle. This is very simple test. If you go and check fiber reference or sensor ground and you're not reading properly, it doesn't mean the computer is bad. It could, but we need to do more tests. What is the more tests you need to do? You need to start unplugging sensors. If you're already on the throttle position sensor, right, and you got 0 volts in there or 1 volt, and you know that it should be reading 5 volts, well, let's just start unplugging sensors, see if you get that fiber reference back. If you do, well, the problem is in the harness. If you don't, then the problem is in the computer. It's as simple as that. Do you want to know, like in here, this is exactly what I'm doing. Look, I just provided 4 wires and then connecting my oscilloscope, my multimeter to it, and then we can see the fiber reference is present. And I'm injecting a 5 volts. So you will say, well, Mike, how can I inject a 5 volts? Well, you can use the same fiber reference you have here, right? So let me show you what you can use. These are tools that I have made. This is called, this is a potentiometer. It's a variable resistor, so it's a knob. I would recommend you, if you're going to use it for sensors, to get one. And there, I mean, you can buy this from Amazon. A 10 kilo ohm variable resistor. When you have them facing the knob towards you, like I'm having right now, the right side of that, because it has 3 prongs or 3 connections, you're going to have to solder that. And I solder in each of them a wire with a 4 millimeter banana adapter so I can connect my leads to it. So the one, again, with the knob facing you will be the right side, is the voltage supply, the fiber reference. The center is the signal, and the left side is the ground. So you're going to connect, use the same computer. You're going to connect to the sensor ground, to the fiber reference, and now your output is the signal, and go over to pin, in this case, what we said, 61? Yeah, pin 61, which I am connected in there, right? And I can now start moving the knob, and this is going to go from 0.5 volts to 5 volts. As you go up, voltage goes up. As you go down, voltage goes down. If you move that and it changes, nothing wrong with the computer. The computer is good. But if you have fiber reference and sensor ground, and then nothing changes on the computer, well, put a multimeter, because this is the nice thing about using these 4 millimeter banana adapters. You can connect the multimeter from the back, and then an output, you know, with like a wire. I did, again, a wire with a 4 millimeter banana adapter that I can connect in this, and I can read with a multimeter how much am I putting in there. So if I move this knob and without connecting it to the computer, it's showing me 1.5 volts. How much am I expect to see on the computer? 1.5 volts, right? So before I plug it in, I put them into my meter, and I know how much voltage I'm supplying without moving the knob. If I put them in there, it's 2 volts, and I connect it to the computer, and it reads 0, well, something is open in the computer, send it to repairs. But if it shows 2 volts, the problem is not in the computer. The problem is the sensor. The problem is the harness, something else, right? All right, so this is definitely not a problem on the computer. I'm not even going to test the map, which I can. And I have the reading in there. So let me just see. The map will be 62. So actually, it's pretty easy. Let me move it over to the map. And you're going to see how, as soon as I remove that wire from the map, from the throttle position sensor, again, this, let me actually do it with this view so you can see me. As soon as I remove this one, look at the voltage on the scanner. It went to 0, right? Why? Because I unplugged the voltage I'm supplying. So I'm going to go over to 62, and I need light in here. So give me 1 second. I'm going to unplug it. So I'm now going to connect it with voltage in there. And I got to go over to 62. So 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Six, 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, that will be the manifold air pressure. I'm going to close the throttle, and I'm going to open the manifold air pressure, which is, that's manifold pressure is reading 5 volts. So actually that is a different sensor. Let me see if I can use that, but I doubt it. Oh no, it worked. Look at right there. And look at the pressure too. The pressure, as soon as I move that knob, look. Is the computer able to read that sensor? Yes, it is. So is anything wrong with the sensors or with the computer? No. All right, so the strike 2 for the computer, good. So the computer so far is setting good. So the other thing that I want to do now is go over to the other 5-volt reference for the fuel tank pressure sensor. Let me find it one more time. Okay, so we need to go to, this will be all into the, I'm going to unplug this signal from here. So it's not going to, well, I can actually leave it in there so it's not going to ground into anything. Now let me go into custom, and I want to go and see if I can see the tank pressure. Fuel. Because if I have a pit, then I connect it. If I don't have a pit for it, I'm not going to connect it, because sometimes it don't give you the tank pressure. No, so we're not going to be able to see a pit, but let me check the 5-volt reference for that. So the 5-volt reference should be in pin 40 in connector B. So I'm going to move my meter, the ones you can see now. I'm going to unplug both cables. All right, so we're going to have now the red cable of my multimeter to connector B, which is the center, pin 40. Six, 5, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1, 40. So I'm connected into the 5-volt reference, and let me go into the 5. I'm looking at my diagrams to find the connections, to look for the ground. is in wiring 5, and that will be pin 41. Oh, that makes it very easy. So that was one after, right? All right, I got the multimeter now connected into the fiber reference on the other side. And how much are we reading? We got all the fiber references. So both fiber reference sensors, the computer is able to read the changes on the signals. We got both fiber reference. How is this computer? Absolutely good. There is absolutely nothing wrong. The problem is in the vehicle. But at least I can show you how to read wire diagrams. And let me take you over to the last part that I did, which is in the sensor ground for that last part, right? So the sensor ground, again, in connector B, which is now connected, pin 41 is the signal return, that's the sensor ground. And then the field tank voltage reference is in the same connector B, but in pin 40, like I told you before. You can see all this in here. Now you understand how you can check for this, right? So fiber reference, sensor ground, this is a 3-wire sensor. So a 3-wire sensor is going to have power, ground, and the signal across the board. Except for the new ones, there are now a smart sensor that might be communication, but for these vehicles, stick with that rule: 3-wire sensor, power, ground, and signal. All right, guys, I hope that at least this is somehow educational or informative for you. If you're here and you have not subscribed to the channel, I will please ask you to do so. That really helped my small business a lot. Every time you do so, YouTube promotes my videos more and more, and that's how you find me. If you have any automotive or marine ECMs or instrument cluster for repairs, I'm your best choice. There is no other company that takes the time to show you this, to walk you through the wire diagrams, to show you and prove that your computer needs a repair or does not need to be repaired, like in this case. At least you got a peace of mind knowing that your computer is good. The problem is 100% in the car, right? So that is a big value. No other company does that. All right? You can find my website in the title of this video. I'm going to put them in there, and then you can copy and paste it. And in there, you can have my email, my telephone, and everything. All right, guys, thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.